Welcome back to another episode featuring Costa Rica in 2025. This time it's the Copey wine tour. Now I've been kind of struggling about how to present this video just because while this tour is very interesting and exciting in person, it is a walk and talk tour, and so I'm trying to figure out how to make it more interesting in a video format. And what I've settled is that I'll go to the different sections of the tour and I'm just going to summarize what the tour operator was telling us for that particular part of the tour. I think that'll make it more interesting for you, the viewer, and it'll keep the length of the video down just because the real life tour was about 2 hours or so. And what you've been seeing on the screen so far is just some beauty shots of the main facility where they receive tourists and visitors. I think it's very beautiful countryside, and on the roof of the main building they have this really cool wide viewing deck that gives you a good 360 view of the surrounding area. Now the backstory of Copey Winery is that the owners of the winery were vacationing in Costa Rica, and they already had an established business of doing wines in Israel and in Sonoma Valley in California, and they just love Costa Rica, and for reasons I'll explain at the end of the video, they really wanted to make a winery happen here as well. And that was always going to be a bit of a challenge in Costa Rica because in order to have a successful wine operation, you need the exact kind of weather and conditions. And Costa Rica being a tropical environment mostly really wasn't suitable for winemaking. But she kept going around the country trying to find a suitable place to pull this off. And lo and behold, she came across this land and it had grapes growing on it. And so she talked to the owner, she made a deal with them and bought the land from them. And I think she even let them stay on and had them work the land for her. And that's why I'm showing you this grapevine here. This was the original grapevine that the lady saw and saw that there was grapes growing here. So they named it Mama Uva, which is Spanish for mother grape. So they made this special display for Mama Uva. And the tour operator here is explaining how much work it went to building this place up and making it successful. And she lays out the backstory and the history of Copey in this part of the tour. And the next part of the tour, we go to this section where they do some of the harvesting of the vines. And in keeping with the idea of a mother grape, we have the children of the mother grape, the girls, or las chicas. And in this section, the tour operator is explaining that even though Copey is successful, it does have its challenges because it's not the typical environment you would do a winery. And she explains, some of the facilities and some of the things that they had to learn, some new techniques they had to discover and figure out how to make this successful. For example, because Costa Rica is so much closer to the equator, the sunlight that hits the land is more intense and it can destroy the crops for too much exposure to sunlight. So they have these little facilities that have like a tarp to cut down how much sunlight hits the grapes. And Costa Rica is a very tropical nation as well, so it gets a lot of rain. And so the tarps help with controlling how much rain gets down to them, because too much rain can be bad for the vine crops as well. And have a special drainage system so that they don't get overwatered. And as you can see in these shots, the plants look a little dead, but it's not really the case. It's just that these plants have had their grapes harvested for the season. But this allowed us to enter the area where the grapes are and see how the setup is. Here we can see some greener vines, but because they're in the middle of their growing process, we weren't allowed to step in. We just had to look out from the outside. Copey doesn't just make wine. They also make another product called Golden Rush that they make from the golden berry, and it is delicious. I like the wines that they make, but their other product, Golden Rush, is what really gets me excited. And in this section, they're showing off the golden berry. And you can see that first one kind of got away from me, so I had to try again. And luckily, I didn't lose control of this one. They make a few products from this golden berry. Besides the Golden Rush liqueur, they have a hard seltzer, 2 versions of it. One that's a little bit more sugary, one a little less sugary. They have like a spread jam that they make with it. And then they just sell the berries dehydrated, and they're all very delicious. We then did go outside to look at the goldenberry bush. It's a very unassuming and low-to-the-ground plant. Now the goldenberry is also referred to as Cape gooseberry or the Peruvian ground cherry. It's native to the Andes Mountains of South America, but it still does very well here in Costa Rica. And another interesting thing about the goldenberry is that it's considered a superfood. Next, we went to the facility where they process the goldenberry for their Golden Rush products, where the magic happens, or donde hacemos magia. So in this area where they process the goldenberry for their various goldenberry products, you have a lot of these large tanks. So here the tour operator is explaining how the berries are put in this hopper. They get their peel separated and they go into this bottom part. The berries are then put into the tanks with a special type of alcohol to ferment the berries. And then after spending some time in the tanks with that alcohol mixture, they come into this small pressurized tank that fills with water and kind of stops the biological processes of the fermentation. Then that mixture is then brought over to this other tank, which adjusts the alcohol level down to the final version that they're going to use for the Golden Rush product. So this part of the tour is just very much the nuts and bolts of how they make the Golden Rush product. It's very interesting in person when you can kind of see everything up close and touch things, but I just want to give you an overall view and explanation of this part of the tour. Here we're switching back to talking about the Copey wines, and here she's just explaining some of the tools they use to examine the wine and make sure it's the right quality that they want. Again, it was very interesting to actually be there and actually touch these tools and play around with them, but here I just want to give you an idea of what they are, and we're going to move on to the next part of the tour, which is probably the most fun part. So what would a wine tour be without some wine tasting? And luckily, besides wine, we also get to try this Golden Rush products. Inside the main visiting area, it's like a little store and an event area. Of course, you can buy Golden Rush and all the various wines, not just the wines they make there in Costa Rica, but also from Napa Valley and from Israel as well. But once we sat down, we got to do the wine tasting part of the tour. Now it follows the same process. She will pick up one of the wines, she explains about the profile, about where it's made, if it's the Israeli wine or the one from Sonoma County. For each wine, we do the same process. We pour the wine, we smell it, shake it around a little bit to kind of agitate it and get that really good aroma to come out. And then we examine it, and then of course we get to drink it. And each wine was paired with a food item like a dried meat or a cheese or these nuts, as you can see here. Now these aren't necessarily full pours for each wine, but it's a generous amount, and you really get to enjoy and savor each wine and the Golden Rush products. And speaking of the Golden Rush products, while I did enjoy all the wines, and I'm going to come back to that in a bit, my favorite part was definitely trying out the different Golden Rush products. We did the main Golden Rush product at both cold and room temperature. I preferred it cold, but it's also good at room temperature. We did the two hard seltzers. Both were fine. Both seemed very sweet to me, so I enjoyed more of what's supposed to be the less sweet one, but the more sweet one is also pretty good. And for the jam, we had that with a brownie and a chocolate sauce, and it was very delicious. And it just happened to be someone's birthday on the tour, so they got a candle to go with theirs. And to go back to the wine for a little bit here, there were 4 wines that we tried. 2 from Israel, 1 from Sonoma County in California, and then the one they make there at Copey. Honestly, they were all great. I would say though that the Israeli ones were my least favorite, even though they were quite good. The California one was the second best to me, and the best one to me was the one they make there in Costa Rica. The 2 Israeli ones, the one is called Tethys, it's a 2021 from their Nana winery, is what they call that. And then they have I'm going to butcher this, it's Chenin Blanc 2023, also from the Nana Estate in the winery they do there in Israel. And for the one they do in Sonoma County, it's the Cabernet Sauvignon 2014. Again, I'm not a wine specialist, so excuse my pronunciation. And for the Copey, the one they do there in Costa Rica, it's called Tierra. Earlier in the video, I mentioned there was a specific reason why the owners wanted to do a winery here in Costa Rica. The Copey Estate Winery is part of a project called the Three Corners Wine. The main idea behind this project is to do a winery in an extreme environment that you normally wouldn't do a winery. So this could mean doing a winery in a place that has extreme weather, or extreme soil conditions, or very harsh winters. And from that, you would get grapes that are unique in their flavor, and then that would then produce uniquely tasting wines, different from what most people are used to experiencing. So the Israeli wines are made in the Negev desert. The California wine is made in a very volcanic, rocky area. And then for Copey, the winery is up in the mountains. I wonder if they find a 4th extreme area to do a winery, if they would change the project to the Four Corners wine. So yeah, the wines are great. All the 4 were great. I'm not necessarily a wine guy though, so to me the Golden Rush was a little bit more what I was into, especially the main product, but also the hard seltzers was really good too. Now I could go down deeper for each one of these wines and the Golden Rush products and talk about what they taste like and what the experience was like, but I have this other series called The Spirit Inside, and I did manage to bring back a bottle of Golden Rush, And so I will be doing an episode surrounding on the Golden Rush, hopefully sometime in the next few months. So I would check that out if you want to know more about that particular product and get my opinion on it. I mean, if you're hearing this, you already know I like it. But in the Spirit Inside series, I give you a little bit of history and background of each product and give you a full review and some ideas of how to mix the product in different ways. And I hope you go and check that out when it comes out, and the other Spirit Inside videos I already have out. My hope is to go back to Costa Rica and then over time bring back also the wines and the other products, and also with those do a Spirit Inside video for each one of those. But as far as this video concerning my tour at the Copey Winery, we're pretty much at the end here. I totally enjoyed this tour. Again, it's probably not as exciting just watching people drink wine and liquor, but definitely if you get a chance to take part of this tour, I would highly recommend it. It's a good time with beautiful scenery, obviously good drink and food along the way. And there's actually a little bit more to this tour that's outside of Copey, which I'll explore in another video. So I hope you'll come back and check that out. And if you like this video, I hope you share it, like it, and comment on it, and subscribe to the channel. And until the next time, take care.